Welcome to Seoultron. This video reviews my custom Titan V Air Hyde combination. So let's take a look at just what he looks like. We'll just do a 360 on this guy. So this is just basically Titan V, and then he's got Air Hyde just hanging out on his back pretty much. And his legs. So that's how he looks. I'm not sure how I feel about this combination. I don't feel super strongly about it. I think it looks pretty good. I don't know. I just don't know if this really fixes the issues that I had with Titan V. I think it does bulk him out rather nicely, which is important for this figure because he's very scrawny looking. But these extra airplane parts, I think, do improve his look, but only a little bit. I thought it would be a little bit more dramatic. And then I did make it so that these leg wings could be positioned upside down as well. Let's see if that makes... So they could look like this instead of this. I kind of like this look because on the knees you have what looks like a cannon. Okay, and it looks more like this, so I kind of like the wings facing this way too, so I'm a little bit torn. I'm about 50-50 on this, which way I like better. But this is also kind of a cool look with the wings turned down. And here's how he looks with his sword in his hand, so that's a pretty good look. He's not going to pull off really good flying poses because his legs just have such limited articulation. I did work on that a little bit to give him a better A stance so his legs can spread this far now, which is further than he could originally spread. But his knee and forward kick is still pretty limited, so he's not going to get any really convincing flight poses. And then I did fix his arm articulation so his arms can move out more. But actually I kind of like how he's looking on camera right now. This is actually kind of cool. So I'm just going to go over how I did this custom. So on the legs here, I put these Lego ball joints, so it's pretty unobtrusive. I did have to cut off the rear view mirrors for the Humvee, but not a big deal. And then I installed these little sockets into Air Hyde's legs, and those don't get in the way at all, so it's still flush. So these two he can still transform no problem, except for I unscrewed his thigh here, so this entire leg could come off. So that's how these attach. And then the bulk of Air Hyde up here attaches with these Lego ball sockets back here, and then there's a couple sockets back here, and then an axle that just connects this whole backpack assembly. And then I like to have these thrusters facing forward. It just kind of makes Titan V a little bit bulkier, but I'll show you what he looks like with just the regular turbines. Okay, so here's how he looks with just the turbines facing down on his back like this, which is also a pretty cool look. And then you can see he's got that much slimmer looking figure now, which I think does work with the silhouette of his wings. So I actually like this look too. So I'm just going to pop Air Hyde off his back. Okay, here he is in a pretty neutral stance. And then just one other possibility is maybe attaching the wings like this, I think is also a cool look. It has more the blue and yellow color, which kind of unites everything. So I also like the way that this looks. But I decided to customize it and have more of the white showing instead. So these are the sockets that I installed on Air Hyde that allow him to connect. And then you can see this is Air Hyde's hips right here, so his thighs connect right there. All I did was just unscrew this whole section to disassemble him. And then basically, when you do reassemble him, everything just fits right back in here again. And the just get that out of the way. The ball joints don't get in the way at all because they're pretty much flush to the plastic. So this just clips normally, and that just totally hides it, and everything's back to normal on this mode. And there's Air Hyde assembled again, except for I didn't screw his thighs into place, but that just shows everything transforms normally, no issue. And then lastly, I did a lot of mods to tighten V to make him more posable. So first thing I did is I trimmed a lot of the plastic around this hinge right here so that these wheels could hinge out a little bit further. Initially they probably hinged about that much. Now it's got this much clearance, which gives him a good amount of side kick. So that's definitely more of an A stance than he could possibly ever need. And then I did trim a little bit of the plastic inside here just to give him as much front motion as possible on this leg so that plastic wouldn't get in the way. And then more importantly, I added these ball joints here. So he's got good shoulder articulation, so now he can actually move his arm out laterally. Because before it was just like this, and then you had to rotate this whole thing just to move his shoulders. Now he's actually got shoulder joints, so his wings can stay upright the whole time. So that makes a pretty big difference, because now he can, even without these bicep swivels, he can still cross the sword like all the way across his body. And you can get some really good poses that way. So now he can pretty much two-hand his sword. And then I ball jointed his neck here to give this more range, so now it can look up and down and it can rotate freely. So now he's got some much better posing options, which makes me like this figure a lot more. I'm surprised. I thought I was only going to like it a little bit more, but these shoulders and neck make all the difference for this figure. Like, he's just so much cooler and dynamic now. So I'm really liking this figure. And then I made it so that the head can move up a little bit, and that can get more of a downward look, so he can look down a lot, and then he can look upward for those flight poses. And then this ball joint neck just is on a telescoping joint, so it can go up a little bit to give more posability, and then it can go down to be pretty much flush, and then that way it can just transform normally like that. And now you just have like a little gap right here. It's like one or 2 millimeters, really not a big deal. But yeah, that's pretty much what I did to this guy. I'm going to transform him off camera, and then I'll just show you what... All the mods are basically on the airplane, the core torso. So everything else is going to look pretty much the same. Here's the tachyon component. Doesn't look much different. It does have these ball sockets on the bottom now, but the wheels still do roll. I made it so they're exactly flush. And then the Humvee, almost no different. No mirrors, and then it's got ball joints here for the Air Hyde combination. And then big changes on this guy. I actually thought that this section was going to end up on the bottom of the plane, so I didn't expect it to be this ugly. I thought all this junk was going to end up down here. So this is actually the first time I've transformed this guy since I modded it. And then there's a big mess in here that I need to clean up. And then here's where those shoulder ball joints ended up. I knew they were going to end up here and look ugly, but I think it's worth it for the new articulation. And then just to see how everything scales together, I think this is a decent scale for a jumbo jet versus this plane. This plane is probably much smaller though, but I think that these vehicles all scaled decently together. You can kind of pretend that they all work. So that's that combination. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.